A question what they did. Because now we got police officers in the schools. I asked a question.
Use the school intervention officer contract. So that's likely for the air or team for the drug intervention for an officer to go in.
Roger.
Yeah, that's not the one on staff.
John.
Yes, sir. This for front of the court. Juvenile clerk. Yeah, it's nothing to do with.
Okay, at this time, we will begin the October 4th BOC meeting. We will start out with a prayer from Commissioner Sarkella and the pledge from Commissioner Heberlein.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day and for the opportunity to gather. We're grateful for the wonderful weather. We ask that you be with our farmers as they harvest their crops and give them a safe harvest and safe travel for those that participate. We ask that you would be with us today as we make decisions for our friends and neighbors and allow us to be wise with what we talk about. And we're thankful for all the things that you give us. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Leslie, roll call, please.
Commissioner John Black.
Here.
Chairman John Black. Commissioner Bill Sarkella.
Present.
Commissioner Roger Ballard.
Here.
Commissioner Gary Heberlein.
Present here. I got them all.
There's one in every crowd.
Yeah. Thank you, Leslie. Okay, at this time, I will entertain an adoption of the agenda with the addition of a presentation from Doug Sweet, the Drain Commissioner.
I'll make that motion.
Go ahead. Support them.
We have a motion from Commissioner Ballard, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is adopted. Moving on to an approval of our meeting minutes from September 20th. If there are no corrections to the meeting minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 20th.
Support. We have a motion from Commissioner Heberlein, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. You would receive your correspondence from Jody the other day through email. We will move into commissioner reports, and we will start with Commissioner Ballard.
Okay, on let's see, the 20th, last Thursday, I attended the BOC Township meeting. Last night I was at the City of Marlette meeting. The Chief McGinnis was happy to announce that they are receiving a $27,000 Homeland Security grant for handheld radios, which will enable them to communicate with Lapeer, Tuscola counties and the state police, which right now they have to go through dispatch and get patched over through. So it's going to save a tremendous amount of time. And Chief McGinnis wanted to thank Nate Smith for his help, and he was instrumental in them securing that grant. So hats off to Nate for doing that. Let's see, I attended CMH committee meeting. I thought Will might be here today. They got big news late last week. I don't have a lot of details on it, but they received they have more acronyms in mental health than you've ever seen in your life, but they received CCBHC designation, which makes them a certified community behavioral health clinic. And this grant came from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and it's in the amount of $999,985 for 4 years. And this is really going to change things down at mental health. It's going to provide a lot more services, a lot more community cooperation, and it's going to take time to get things in place, but they'll be hiring more people and a lot more staff and more services.
So they say specifically what those new areas would be?
Like I said, I don't have all of that. They got that news on Thursday and it went into effect on Friday. So see, I think that's Village of Peck. I was over there on the 21st at their meeting, and I believe that's it.
Okay. I myself have nothing for a commissioner report. I'll cover everything in committee reports. Gary?
I may not be short. I start my October township meetings tonight, starting in Watertown. Also, we have a Parks and Recreation Committee meeting almost the same time. I'll be attending.
Thanks, Gary. Bill?
Port Sanilac discussed their sheriff contract. They're very pleased with the service that they've been getting from the sheriff department, so they're going to be continuing with that. Harbor waiting list for boats is up to 23, so they do have slips available. And then they're working on some harbor park improvements and some ordinance updates. And if you've been through Port Sanilac at all, the street lights are finally up and done, and they'll be getting those decorated for the fall. And they discussed the MTR fuel charge because the services that pick up their trash and recycling have to have an increase because a fuel surcharge is what they're calling it. Was down in Lexington. They had a presentation for some life-saving awards. One of their officers, along with the rescue, the EMS, they had a 4-year-old there who was having an allergic reaction, was in cardiac arrest when they got there, and the police officer was there within a minute, and they essentially saved the young man's life. So they did a lot of recognition for all those folks, which was really good to see. And then they approved a mobile home at the park, a playground. They're one of the only municipalities, if not the only municipality in the state of Michigan that has a mobile home park. So they have to manage that. So they're putting in a new playground at this point in time. That's all I have.
Very good.
So I hear you park cars and slips at Port Sanilac now.
And slips?
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was your truck that was in there.
All right, very good. Thank you for your commissioner report. At this time, Nathan, your administrator report.
Thank you. First thing, wanted to let you guys know that did take a tour of the health department building with a contractor, looking at the building and some updates that are needed. So we're going to get some numbers on that. Also here within the courthouse, we had a gentleman from the state court that came almost 2 weeks ago now, and he's from the security department at the court and did a walkthrough, assessed our current practices. He's come through in 2015, came through in 2019, and now he was back. So he was pleased with some of the improvements that have been made. He had some other ideas for us, but overall he was pleased with some of the progress that's been made. Went to the MAC conference, as you guys know, about 2 weeks ago. That's why I was not here. There was, I think, some real value in going. A lot of the focus initially was on broadband internet and the push to get that throughout the rural communities. It was good to know that we're getting that here. We're making some headway, and actually Highline, who's doing a lot of the work here now, was on the guest panel. Was one of the guests on the panel, I guess. So they were there speaking as well. Some other good sessions. They had some sessions regarding county parks. I think it just furthered, to Commissioner Ballard and his work on the parks, and they hit on the needs for the parks and how that was really highlighted during COVID, and how those were one of the things that people were able to do because there was so much they couldn't do, and how it kind of revitalized parks for some and got people out using them more. So there's a lot of money that's going to be available for parks, and a lot that is already available and has been taken advantage of. Let's say taken advantage of, but has been utilized by this county, which is good. And they also talked about law enforcement. There was a couple of gentlemen there from the Michigan County Police Officers Association, and they were just talking about some of the challenges they're seeing statewide and local law enforcement. So definitely some good sessions, good networking. That's all I have.
Any questions for Nathan? Hearing none, we will move on. At this time, I'll call for public comments pertaining to the agenda. Are there any public comments pertaining to today's agenda? Hearing none, we will move on. At this time, we're going to have a presentation from our Drain Commissioner, Doug Sweet. Doug, you have the floor.
Thank you. There's really not much of a presentation, so I hope your hopes aren't too high. So just kind of information. In January, my office kind of sat down and brainstormed about doing a USDA grant. So went over and talked to Nate Smith. He was very instrumental in getting everything we needed to get it going. But we just received word that we are going to receive $15,300 for a grant for a pickup truck. So I guess our next process is to have you guys approve it, and then we'll have it in the minutes, and then we should be good to go on our end.
Okay.
Now we wait for a pickup truck.
Do you just need in the meeting minutes that you presented to us for this particular part, but then eventually that grant will come back for final approval through the board, or?
I think this will do it.
Okay,
I believe it'll do it. So
very good. Well, thanks for going out and finding a grant to find some funds, and I know you were in need of a different vehicle.
Yep. So that's basically what it is.
Okay.
And the lead time is what, 6 months?
6 to 12 months, they tell us.
Amazing.
And that's through Graph here in town.
Lean towards that 12.
We'll see.
Hopefully.
You need a motion then?
No, you just need to present.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Doug. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Okay, at this time, we're going to have an update from Dave Stevens, Community Corrections Coordinator. Dave, welcome.
Welcome, thank you, and good afternoon. Sorry not to say good morning. We used to do in the meetings in the mornings. Wanted to come up here this afternoon and talk about the advisory board for community corrections. Been the coordinator for the last 5 years. I've been with community regional community corrections for 12 years. And the way they've always done it, let me preface this, we've just added Huron County. So October 1st, because we're on a fiscal year, Huron County became part of the region. The way it's always been done in the past for no good reason is when a county was added, you added the sheriff, the prosecutor, a judge, everyone got a fair share of being on the board. The issue with that has always been the issue since I've been part of some regional community corrections is making quorum. Okay. As Mr. Sarkella knows, last meeting, we barely met quorum. So I went back to the state, pulled out PA 511, which is the public act that community corrections has to go by. And we don't have to have one of everybody. It actually states in here what we have to have is one county commissioner because we are a region. We have to have a county commissioner from each county. So up here, Tuscola, Sand Lake, and Huron County, we have to have one county commissioner. The rest of it, I don't have to have 4 sheriffs. I don't have to have 4 prosecutors, 4 circuit court judges, 4 district court judges. So in the last meeting, the board voted we're going to reshape the board. I want to make sure the counties know that by no means are they not going to have fair representation because you are going to have a county commissioner on the board. Currently it's Commissioner Sarkella. Doesn't mean a sheriff can't come or a prosecutor can't come and present something that they have a need. But I have judges, prosecutors, sheriffs I haven't seen in years. And it's not just because of COVID, they just don't show up. Some of them, it's outlined on here that they can have a designee. The commissioner can have a designee. So it's not that you have to come every time you can send a designee. But we're not doing these 4 counties any favors if we can't make quorum and the meetings aren't productive. Okay. So my goal here is to actually reshape the board, get the 4 county commissioners that we're going to have. And then by the end of, because we're going to have a meeting the end of this month, get a board that's active and start laying some ground rules. Do we want to rotate the meetings? So there's 4 meetings, 4 quarterly meetings. Do we want to do 1 in each county? Do we want to try to meet somewhere in the middle? But we got to lay these ground rules. Doing it how he's always done it, it's not working. So I wanted to make sure that the commissioners here, I don't know if Mr. Sarkella is going to continue to be the commissioner. You guys are going to revamp it, but we need to, is it a 1-year term, 2-year terms? All that needs to get mapped out, and that, not pointing fingers, but if a judge doesn't want to be on the board, they're not going to show up. There's no point in having them on the board other than they're putting it on their little resume. But that's what I'm here to let the board know. That's what the route we're going to go. The next meeting, that's going to get mapped out. But I want to make sure everyone knows it's fair representation. Doesn't mean someone can't come if they want to speak at the meeting or they have a concern. As far as money being allocated, it's going to be allocated fairly amongst the counties. It's basically a fee for service across. Moving on, AICC for fiscal year 2023 is still going to be providing services for Sanilac County. Looking at List, who now has an office in Sanilac County, maybe by halfway through the fiscal year, have them come in and start doing Thinking Matters and substance abuse, and then you have a local contractor handling that. That's in the works. As far as the IOP, which is the drunk driving program, that's still going to be handled by AICC. Any questions on that? Perfect. Now for some stats. This is through August of this year. We haven't done September's billings yet. There was 25 people enrolled in the substance abuse program, and 10 terminations, so there's still 15 participating, and all those were successful completions. The Thinking Matters program, there was 24 people enrolled and 20 people successfully completed. Meaning there's still some in the program moving forward. The IOP program, there was 3. 2 are still active and 1 successfully completed. There's only 2. That program's ending last month, so they will have successfully completed as well. Any questions on that? And I was hoping Joel was here. He had asked about the programs work. So for 2022, we started tracking if the programs work. And what we chose to do is see if people reoffended within 12 months of completing any of these programs. Haven't done the 4th quarter yet, but as of 3rd quarter for a region, we had 1 person reoffend, picked up a new felony. That was at Tuscola, so it wasn't at Sanilac County. Any questions?
Dave, back to the restructuring of the board. So you're talking about having 4 commissioners, but you're going to have some other members of that board. Are you looking to have a 7-member board, or?
It's actually broken down exactly what we need to have. You have to have 1 county sheriff or as a designee, 1 city chief from the police department or as designee, 1 circuit court judge, 1 district court, 1 probate, already covered county commissioners, 1 prosecuting attorney or his designee, 1 defense, 1 business, and 1 communications is what it's going to be consisted of. Okay. And in the past, I don't know why they wanted 1 from each county. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I started, like I said, 12 years ago, and making quorum has always been a nightmare. And I'm really, I want the board to be, it's not just come in and vote yes to approve the report and move on. Be a little bit more on board with what we need to do. Is there a program we want to bring on? And that's just not what it's ever been. It's been, please come to the meeting, here's some free food. Vote yes to approve my report. It doesn't work that way. It's not the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be an actual board that sits down. Do we have questions? Is there some way we'd like to go? Because I don't have a vote. And that's why it kept going the way it was, because I kept presenting it going, hey, look, we needed 15 people here for a quorum. I'm sure that guy switched seats, voting twice to make quorum. It doesn't work, but didn't have a say. The last meeting, finally, let's take a look at restructuring this. And again, it'll be up to the board, not me. We want to rotate the meetings. Do we want to meet in Sanilac so we're kind of in the middle? You know, how do we want to do it and actually start, engaging in the meetings instead of literally showing up, eating, voting on whatever needs to be voted on that day and moving on. There's a lot of grants out there, but the problem we always had is participation once we get the grant approved. I mean, these numbers are really good. I know they look low, but they're good. Courts were not open at the beginning of this year. Things still haven't picked up. And when you miss a couple months, you can't ever make that up. So these numbers are actually pretty good compared to some other counties. But I want some engagement from the people on the board. There's a lot of grants out there. A lot of them need to be rewritten. We just need to know there's a need. I mean, I don't live in Salem County. I want to give a shout out. Your county parks are amazing. I stayed at the Lighthouse campground.
That's here in county.
Well, I was in Huron County for a second,
Yeah.
but I have stayed. What's the name of the park?
We have Forester and Lexington
Forester.
and Evergreen.
Yeah,
And Delaware.
No, that wasn't Lexington, it was Forester. But anyways, that's what I'm trying to do is just to get people on board because it's been, you know, again, I don't point fingers, but the last 3 meetings have been in Lapeer County and I had to go out and grab a prosecutor out of their office so we could make more. And I had a random sheriff's deputy sitting in there. You know, we need participation. That's what it needs to be. That's all I'm looking for. I just want to make sure the commission doesn't think that the commissioners don't think that there's not going to be ample, you know, you're not getting robbed of any money or any participation or any funding or anything like that. It's just, we got to change it up. There's 40 some people on the board now. So that means we need 20 some people, and that's without Huron County. That's just with the 3 counties. It doesn't work. So
Dave, a little history on Thumb Area Regional Community Corrections. How did it come about? How was it started? Give us a little history.
okay, so
Because I heard you refer to they a few times. I don't know who they is.
So
is it state guidelines or anyway? Or?
yeah, so Public Act 511 is of 1988. Okay, you can actually look it up online, but here it is. And it basically wanted to give local control to advisory boards. When I say advisory boards, I'm talking about separate community corrections. Okay, to get funding for the needs of their area. Okay. Every board does very different things. For instance, Oakland County, the programs they have going on are nothing like we have going on in the region. So it's money given by the state that doesn't have to be matched for programs that we need. The guidelines are they have to be evidence-based practices. And now you have to have those key performance measures, which I said we're measuring to see if the programs are working. So basically, it's money given to the state to run the programs that we want for our area. And that's why I say we got to be more engaged. We're just doing the same thing we've always done. We've always had Thinking Matters, not that it's not a good program. Substance abuse, obviously there's a need. And then the drunk driving one, but there's got to be other things that the counties need. They bring them to me and then I'll try to get grants to cover it. As far as Thumb Area Regional Community Corrections goes, historically it had been for decade, at least a decade before I started. It was just Tuscola and Lapeer County. The reason I took over is because the former grant coordinator kind of was just sitting at the wheel, letting it go, and the state didn't like it. They wanted some changes. So they kind of forced him out. For instance, the opiate specific program, which is now the opiate meth program. Lapeer County and Tuscola County, more Lapeer than Tuscola, we saw a need that we were having an issue with heroin. I reached out to the provider, which is TRICAP, and said, hey, if I write a grant, can I participate? Yep, no problem. We have the bed space. And that's what I'm saying about if we have a need, we need to move forward and finding out what that need is and if I can secure funding for it. That's bringing Huron County on. Same thing. They don't have a heroin issue. They have a huge meth issue. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, for the most part, but I'm trying to understand. We have juvenile court. We have police force here. We have people arrested for 2-3 times for meth or for drunken driving. Did those organizations or those agents, they reach out to you?
So,
because I mean, let me just finish up, because I know we've had, over the years I've been a commissioner, we have several different identities within the county and within the region that help rehabilitate drug addicts, rehabilitate meth. So I'm just trying to figure out where you fit in, because I know there's other identities out there doing the same thing you're doing. Am I wrong?
There are. So as part of the Public Act 511, eligibility criteria, one of them is they have to be a sentenced felon / adjudicated felon / charged with a felony. Okay, if they don't fit one of those, then they can't be offered programming with these funds. Okay, for instance, the opiate/meth specific program. If you had someone in this county that was arrested for a felony, and it was discovered that they had a heroin or a meth addiction, they could be referred to that program, and I could secure funding for them to go. Okay. And I've talked to the sheriff, the prosecutor, the judges. It's just a matter, like I tell you, it's participation is an issue. They had that meeting, which I did take place in, so a couple months ago, where they were doing some strategic planning to try to figure out when someone comes into contact with someone, where they can go. I was at that meeting. They are aware of it. It's just a matter of utilizing it. I can tell you historically, it comes from either the prosecutor, the judge, or the probation agent. They get referred to the programs, all the programs. The way it's supposed to work is, and I say supposed to work, sometimes it doesn't. When the pre-sentence investigation is done by the probation agent, they are supposed to look at eligibility for these programs. Then when they get sentenced, the judge is supposed to sentence them to those programs. And then the referral come to my office. We'll send that referral to the provider, and then they get into the program.
So your job as a profession, you're basically, and maybe it's not the right word terminology, you're the middleman to connect the felon with the help over here, and then you make sure that they pass or fail, or not fail, but pass, and you report that back to the sheriff department or state police department or the judge.
The report
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Probably more the banker than the middleman. Okay. The report would go back to the probation agent, because you have to remember these people are on probation. And if it's put in the probation order that they must complete this program successfully, they can't get off probation, or it could be a probation violation. So if the provider tells me this person didn't show up, then I would send an email or a report to that agent saying, hey, John Doe didn't show up for programming. And that would be on that probation agent, or up to that probation agent, to make that person go. And I'll defend them. The state has recently changed how drastic or how much of a hand they can bring when they have a probation violation has totally changed. So it's kind of a slap on the wrist versus, go spend a night in jail. So it's difficult to get them in programming sometimes, unfortunately. But that's the way the referral would go, and the report would go back to the probation agent. Gotcha. And or the judge.
It makes it a little more clear. Yeah.
If they don't go, I mean, they're basically failing to listen to the judge. I mean, if they get in front of the judge and say I didn't show up, the judge probably isn't going to be happy. And I'm the judge. So, any other questions?
Anything else for Dave? Hearing none. Thank you, sir.
Just one more thing. Do you know, are you going to continue to be the commissioner for?
Well, through the end of the year, then we reassess at the beginning of January at our organizational meeting.
We are moving. So Santa Ana County was redistricted to a 7-member commissioner board. So we're going to have 7 county commissioners. So I foresee there being some shakeup in the committee assignments as we spread those around.
Okay.
It's very possible, especially if Bill was to request or wanted to be on that
Okay,
very likely.
You would be at the October one at least.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll get an email out.
Yeah, give me an email.
I appreciate your time.
And a good meeting spot. We got a beautiful harbor in Port Sanilac, and it's just down the road from Bill's house. So.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. I see nothing for chair appointments or general resolutions. So we will move into committee reports, and we will start with Commissioner Sarkella.
Just a couple quick things. Tenant HTC over in Caro, they approved their 2023 budget, 11.5 million. And their meal delivery, they're going to reduce that down to 3 days a week because costs for that program have gone up 30% for the cost of food. So they had to make a decision on that. They approved an auditing firm. And then if you recall, I reported back in the winter where they did a point in time survey, which is where they go out looking for homeless people in their region, and they ended up with 19 households. So those numbers were down significantly from what it was in the winter. So I guess that would be considered a good thing. And then the pension board, we discussed our amortization schedule and a funding policy as well. So that's all I have right now.
Thank you, Bill. Gary?
Okay, well, I attended 2 meetings this morning. One was the ARPA meeting, which I'll let Chairman Block discuss at length. He has some information there. And then also 11 o'clock, we had a personnel meeting, and it was short. And we once again re-upped the contract for animal control and consulting service with Jim Matson at $25 an hour. And then we re-upped the contract with soil erosion sediment with Joe Allen for 2023. And I believe that came with a 65% raise because Joe hadn't had a raise in 5 or 6 years. So, you know, get that clarified. Yeah, for everybody follow their chair. You know? So I'm going to turn it over to Chairman Blott to discuss the ARPA committee. He's got some good information to pass on.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, so I'll start with the ARPA meeting we had this morning. We had full participation amongst the ARPA committee, Treasurer Bowers, Administrator Roski, Finance Director, and Commissioner Heberlein and myself were there. And one topic that we've been talking about, and I'm pleased that we have approved to move forward to finance today, is there are 2 bonds currently on the St. Lake County Jail. When that was built, one of those bonds is for $1.2 million roughly. And the proposal that we're presenting to the board today is to use ARPA funding to pay that bond off. That will eliminate 18 years of payments, roughly $90,000 in revenue back into the county general fund on an annual basis. And arguably, most importantly, it's going to save the St. Lake County taxpayers $400,000 over the life of that loan. So I think that was a wise move, and very much looking forward to getting that completed. So that's something we'll discuss in further detail at finance. Also, other good news, we met with the MCF team today. We have kind of an in-house team that's been working with our medical care facility. We met with the new administrator that they have hired. The meeting went very well. And it looks like we've got a lot of good things happening and more good things to come related to our medical care facility. That's all I have. Roger.
Parks, we have a meeting tonight. We did receive our preliminary score for our Evergreen Park grant application. We have I've got so many projects going on. I believe it's a $607,000 project in the works up there. Our preliminary score was 315, which is quite good. We submitted some supplemental info, which should gain us another 15 to 20 points. So we feel pretty good about the possibility of success on that grant. We also finally got our bid documents submitted for the Forester Park Playground project. We're looking at an April start on that. We were hoping to have that done this year, but like everything else, COVID really put the hold on things. My wife and I rode over Sunday to Lexington Park to look at the bathhouse addition at the bathroom over there. We got that grant Representative Beeler secured for us from Michigan Economic Development Corporation for $20,000. I actually just got an email the other day. They want another report by the 15th. I'm hoping it'll be done by the 15th. It's really a nice feature for the park. We've never had ADA accessible bathroom facilities. So now we have it's a unisex 10 by 10 room added on block, beautiful on the inside. It's all tiled, and it's going to really it'll open up the use of our parks for more handicapped people. So excited about that. That's about it.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you.
We've heard a lot of good comments about county parks in today's meeting.
I appreciate that.
And they are. It's some good things happening there. Okay, so we will now move on into unfinished business where we have none. So that'll take us to new business. And we are going to start with FA 148-22, approval of current claims.
St. Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of current claims for 2022 identified on the accounts payable report dated September 27, 2022 for the general bank account in the amount of $230,695.52.
Okay, we have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarkella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 149-22, a budget, adoptions, amendments, appropriations, and transfers.
Stanley County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the following budget amendments, transfers, and establishes the following accounts as listed.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 150-22, award and authorized bid for radio consultant to coordinate RFP process and implementation, central dispatch.
Stanley County Board of Commissioners hereby awards and authorizes the bid to Municipal Services Consulting Incorporated for the purpose of a radio consultant coordinating the RFP process and implementation of the digital simulcast upgrade to Stanley County's communication at a cost not to exceed $48,000 with funding from the 9/11 millage for immediate approval.
Support.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarkella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion on the topic? One thing of note I would add to this is the question was asked as to whether the company providing the RFP services would then bid on the radios themselves. So we have a letter from that company indicating that they will not be.
Yeah.
So any further discussion related to FA 150-22? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 151-22, authorization to dispose of vehicle, Sheriff's Office.
Stanley County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the disposal of one 2017 Ford Interceptor VIN number ending in 93136 with 122,353 miles through Albright Auction Service of Vassar. Further authorizes all proceeds of the sale to be deposited into the Sheriff's Office vehicle line item. Support.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarkella, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 152-22, authorization of sponsorship to Delta College Police Academy, Sheriff's Office.
Stanley County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the Sheriff's Office sponsor one person to attend Delta College's Cole's Basic Police Academy, which starts January 2023 at a cost not to exceed $8,603 with funding from the training line within the 2022 budget.
Support.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarkella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion on the topic?
I want to make one note for you guys if I can.
Yeah, sure, Lieutenant.
Not so loud, not so loud, Nate. You scared me.
So Cole's just received a grant, which has been made available to us for the Academy sponsorship. So we can actually get up to 30 grand per agency for funding. So 4,000 of that is actually received back towards this person's salary. So we're probably going to have this 100% covered as soon as I apply for the scholarship, just so you're aware.
Okay, that's
Very
excellent,
good.
Lieutenant. Thank you.
Great news.
Thank you.
Any further discussion related to FA 152-22? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We will move on to FA 153-22, approval of revised project authorization for year 2018, Sanilac Transportation.
Stanley County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the board chairman sign the revised project authorization for fiscal year 2018, section 5311, capital formula grants for rural areas programs.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 154-22, approval of project authorization for year 2022, Sanilac Transportation.
Stanley County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the board chairman sign the project authorization for fiscal year 2022, section 5311, capital formula grants for rural areas programs.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 155-22, approval of 2023 County Child Care Fund Budget, 24th Circuit Court Family Division.
Stanley County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the 2023 Child Care Fund budget for immediate approval and further authorizes the board chairman sign the necessary document.
Support. We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 156-22, approval of school intervention officer contract, 24th Circuit Court Family Division.
Sand County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the fiscal year 2023 school intervention officer contract effective October 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2023.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. That concludes new business. At this time, we'll move into general public comments. Are there any general public comments today? Hearing none, we will move on. We have no closed session nor a need for closed session approval of minutes. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Ballard, support from Commissioner Heberling to adjourn at 1:39. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.